Hello, guys, and welcome along to today's episode of the podcast. In today's episode, we caught up with former winger and striker Martin Smith, who started out with his local club Sunderland before moving on to Sheffield United, Huddersfield, Northampton Town, Darlington, Blyth Spartans, and finishing off with a short spell at Kettering Town. During his almost 20 years career, Martin played over 370 games and also played in 2 promotion-winning sides for Sunderland, winning the First Division, gaining promotion to the Premier League. Martin was also widely regarded as one of the most technically gifted players ever to represent Northampton Town by the fans, and also while he was in his local club Sunderland, was dubbed the son of Pele by the local Sunderland fanzine, A Love Supreme. So today's guest, I'm delighted to welcome along Martin Smith. Yeah, so we'll get started, mate. Are you ready?
No problem.
Yeah, so what would you say your earliest memories are from growing up as a kid, like in Sunderland? What were your hobbies and interests?
More or less always football. As long as I can remember, the earliest memories just playing football in the streets, around the garages. Again, then it was all sort of different levels. You had guys playing football, teenagers, and then sort of 4, 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds. So everybody just mucked in. So it was one of them. You sort of grew up the hard way. If you took too many touches on the ball, you were getting booted, So, yeah, just playing football. And as I say, my dad was a big influence. We'd be out playing football all the time. Again, it's not like now where there's loads of clubs you can sort of go to and different coaching groups. It was more or less most of the time just me, my dad, and say playing in the streets till you were probably in your teenage years, really.
Yeah, obviously there's a lot of academies and things now where, like, back sort of a few years back when we were growing up, there wasn't really that, was there?
No, as I say again, now out the front of mine there's like a big grassed area, and you just think back 70s, 80s, in early 90s, it would have just been full of kids sort of playing football. But now you sort of don't get that. As I say, they're all sort of go off to get sort of individual coaching, or as I say, to these sort of just different coaching groups that have popped up everywhere. So I think the kids miss out on that. It's fine getting your coaching, but as I say, growing up playing against older lads and blokes, it just teaches a lot of different things.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you were growing up then, would you say you always had ambitions to be a footballer then, or was there always a different career path that you wanted to follow?
No, well, I mean, I think early on I had ambitions of being a train driver. That was something that I always fancied, being a train driver, but thankfully that subsided. And yeah, it was, as I say, it was more or less football all the way. As I say, I was, again, from younger, I was always on the school teams playing up, like on the county side, the town side, and played for England like under 15. So I was always good, without sort of blowing my own trumpet. I was a decent player, so that was always the ambition, to sort of just to be a footballer, as I say, from as long as I can remember. And as I say, my parents and nobody ever really put us off, because as I say, I think they sort of realised I had a talent.
Yeah. And can you remember who your first football coach was then?
Again, back then it was just my first sort of local teams was just one of the guys who lived locally, just ran the local teams. But again, I was actually at Newcastle from the age of sort of 11. So you had Stan Nixon, who was at Newcastle, who sort of worked at Middlesbrough as well as time went on. But yeah, my Sunderland boys was Irvin Natras, who used to play for Middlesbrough, Richie Pitt, his son played for Sunderland boys. So a lot of different coaches then, as I say. I think then you played for the school, your district, your county. So there was a lot of different sort of coaches coming. It's not like now where you went into an academy and really you only had 1 or 2 coaches. There was just lots of different. I think I started playing for my local team. Yeah. When I was about 10-year-old.
Yeah, and so who did you support when you grew up then? I'm guessing it was Sunderland, was it?
Yeah, all the way. Yeah, sure it was. As I said, used to go. I think I started going to watch them probably late 70s every now and again, but sort of into the 80s, I've never missed a home game. As I say, I just followed them all the way through. So as I say, I was at Newcastle for sort of 4 years in the excellence. I think it was 10 till I was 14. So again, I don't think the rivalry didn't seem as big then, or it wasn't. Again, now with social media and TV, I think maybe you can see it a bit more freely. But then it didn't seem to be, whether it was just because I was young. So there wasn't the massive thing about going there. It was sort of my first opportunity to go into a professional club. So as I say, you took it, but again, then it was just one night a week. You'd go through on a Monday night and train. So I was at Newcastle, but again, I always knew deep down where I wanted to be. It was great while I was there. Got to train with some great players, lads who came through the system there. You sort of your Lee Clarks, Lee Makel, Alan Thompson, Steve Watson. So it was a real high level. So it was good. But yeah, as I say, as soon as I got to 14, I think it was, and Sunderland sort of made their interest known and schoolboy forms. That was sort of it. Newcastle were a bit disappointed, but yeah, I was just happy to sign for Sunderland.
Yeah. So would you say there was any team that you wanted to play for, or was it just Sunderland? Then would it have been like any other team?
No, it wasn't. As I say, it was all Sunderland. That was it. As I say, when I was young, I had chances to go around the country. I did go on trials with the places and teams wanted us, but yeah, it was just always Sunderland. I say I was Sunderland daft. Both.
Yeah.
My house from when I was 5 year old, you could see Roker Park from the bedroom, and then I moved about 3 miles away again from my bedroom. You could see Roker Park. You know, the floodlights. It was always just going to be Sunderland.
Yeah, and who was your idol growing up then?
Early on was probably the likes of Gary Rowell. Again, I just the whole Ian Atkins, but the sort of first big one who people know and it came and sort of changed. It was Marco Gabbiadini.
Yeah,
Gabbers was just something different from what we were. We were in Division 3. And just looked like we were floundering. And then this kid came with the biggest thighs you've ever seen, and it was just a bull in a china shop. And Gabbers was sort of really, I would say, the first real like hero who you sort of looked at and thought, wow, what a player. But as I say, before that, there was so many. I sort of, as I say, I watched them from late 70s through the 80s. So there was a lot of players who sort of looked up to and loved as a kid.
Yeah, there was a few ex-players I've spoke to actually who said Gabbiadini as well. Like obviously, I remember that sort of era myself as well. So he used to score quite a few. He was prolific.
Yeah, he was. I say he was just different. He was just so raw. But some of the goals he scored, you never saw other people scoring them. As I said, he was, and yeah, as I say, so when I first went into Sunderland, he was as an apprentice. He was there as a pro. He left not long after I went in, but it's again just when as a grown up and going in and sort of training with them sort of players like who you idolise it was just fantastic.
Yeah, and can you remember the first game you went to as a fan then?
I remember the first time I walked in Roker Park, but it was a reserve game. I think I must have been about 5 or 6. Again, back in them days, there wasn't much football on the TV. So, and again, just being so young, I hadn't really seen a lot. But I just remember going up the main stand, and it was a night game, and just walking out and looking out on the pitch and just being amazed. And my dad says, "Oh, you said one day I'm going to play you." And that was like, as a young, and I remember that like it was yesterday, just walking in and going up. As I say, it was sort of, that must have been very late 70s. And as I say, just the actual first team game, I'd be lying if I said I could remember. You know, it was going back, geez, how old am I now? It's probably over 40 years ago. You know what I mean? As I say, that there's things that just stick out like it was yesterday. It's mad, but then, as I say, certain things you just haven't got a clue.
Yeah,
what it was.
Yeah, so obviously, like a bit later on, you'd signed for Sunderland. Then did you sign professional, or were you just come through like some kind of a training scheme or something like that?
No, I'd signed schoolboy forms, which you signed, I think, when you were 14, which sort of means you were associated with the club and they had your registration. So you'd go in on school holidays, but that was sort of it. It's not like now where lads go in 3-4 days a week and get school release. It was sort of summer holidays. And then just a scholarship, a YT, £29.50. And sort of year we're in there, from leaving school really. But again, I think I signed pro on my 17th birthday in and around it when you could sign pro. So I got my professional contract early. So I think I was a pro from about, as I say, maybe 17, just in and around that birthday.
Yeah.
But yeah. So it was, yeah. So I was, as I say, a young pro at Sunderland, coming through.
Yeah, so I'm guessing you didn't have an agent or anything then. So did the negotiations go pretty easily then when you signed your pro contract?
It was like, yeah, this is what you get, and that's it. Yeah, so it was again. I did have an agent from the age, I think, from about 19, 20, not long after I made my debut, but I don't think it was one of them where we ever said, "Oh, I'm not happy with that." And looking back, I probably could have got more, and you hear what other people were on, but I was just, again, I was a local lad playing for Sunderland. And again, different times then. I was just happy to be getting paid something to play for Sunderland. So it was never a question, oh, I want a bit more, I want some of that. It was just, yeah, just sign it.
Who was the first team manager then at that period?
But when I first went in, it was Dennis Smith, who'd been there and took them from Division 3 into the old First Division, and then they sort of relegated. The year I went in, they were actually in, I lose track, I think it was Division 1, which is now the Championship. So Dennis was in there, but he only lasted 6 months, and then Malcolm Crosby took over. And Malcolm lasted about a year, but actually my first sort of manager who gave me my debut was Terry Butcher.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Butch gave me my debut. I think I was 19. Yeah, when I made my debut, 19, 20. So yeah, so Butch was the one who actually gave me my league debut.
Yeah, so was that round about 1992, sort of round about that kind
I think
of time?
it'd be 1993. So yeah, I was 19, October 1993. Yeah, again, I wouldn't remember this off the top of my head, but it pops up on Twitter every now and again. You know, every year the anniversary of, let's say, the goal. So yeah, maybe it was 1993 against Luton. So I was made my debut. Lucky enough to score after 19 minutes on my home debut.
Yeah, so I'm guessing that was like quite a memorable occasion. Then was it like, did you get nerves and anything and that kind of thing building up to the game? And when did you find out you were playing?
Yeah, it was. It was again. It was a strange one because I'd not been in a first team squad previous. I'd not travelled with a first team. There'd sort of been rumours actually when Martin Crosby was there, sort of a year previous, that he was going to look to give me my debut, but he got sacked. Whether that was the reason he got the sack, I don't know. But yeah, so it was really just the morning of the game. I actually thought it was a night game, and I sort of found out the morning of the game, which was probably a blessing really, because you didn't have time to sort of get too nervous. We trained on the morning and sort of picked the team, and I was in. As I say, so went home. Say no mobile phones then. I go home, tell my mum and dad, like face to face, and sort of everybody sort of found out. And again, it's, can you get some tickets for tonight? Well, I'm not sure. I don't know. So, but yeah, it was say maybe it's a bit of a blessing that I just found out on the morning and didn't have too much time to get too nervous. But I was very nervous leading up to the game. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. Was it round about 7 years you had at Sunderland then, all in all, in the first team?
Yeah, from sort of a schoolboy, yeah, like went in there at 90, made debut 93, and left in 1999. Yeah, so sort of did 6, 7 years in the first team. Yeah, so the first 2 years probably went the best, where I played most games, scored the majority of goals. And then after that, I was a bit stop-start, little runs in the team. And then, let's say, it was just sort of littered with injuries and different things. So, yes, I think the last year I left, I think I only started 3 games. So it was one of them where I just knew I had to leave to sort of kickstart my career.
Yeah. In that period, though, you were part of like 2 Division 1 title-winning sides gaining promotion to the Premier League. What was it like to be part of those like successful sides?
Yeah, it was great. As I say, I think the first one I was probably involved a bit more with, up until I think January, February, and then I picked up an injury, so missed the sort of end, and come back to play a bit late on, but it was, as I say, it's from sort of being a fan. And sort of not having really success when we'd been in the team the previous 2 years. It was sort of a relegation battle, and then to go from a relegation battle the previous year to being involved in a team that's just doing so well with more or less the same players and getting the promotion was just fantastic. As I say, all my friends, my family, Sunderland fans, so it makes it a lot easier when you're around them when things are going a bit better. And again, just as I say, the parades down the seafront and the buses, and just seeing all the fans there. It was there were special times. I think when you look back, it's probably one of them where you appreciate them more as you get older. They say when you're young and you're involved, I think sometimes maybe you just take it a bit for granted. But as I said, it's looking back, you sometimes sit and just think, wow, what a special time to sort of be involved.
Yeah, then obviously being from the area as well, like being a supporter yourself, what it meant to you and the supporters around you.
Yeah, without doubt. As I say, a lot of my friends, my family, as I say, they were always at the games. They used to travel away, and again, just seeing them so happy, as I say, after the previous year where it was a relegation battle, just to see everybody so happy. I mean, again, if it's Borough, Newcastle or Sunderland, if things are going well on the pitch, the whole town sort of picks up on it and the buzzing. And as I say, so as you said, yeah, it was good times.
Yeah. And during that period, you were well loved by the Sunderland supporters who would love to see the local players doing well for the team as well. And I read somewhere you were even dubbed the son of Pele in a Sunderland fanzine. Was that something you were aware of at the time, or how special was that for you?
Yeah. Yeah, it was. It was good. I had T-shirts made up and everything. So I think my mum bought a couple hundred, and I think they're still in the loft actually. But no, there was a few sold, so it was great. But it's been one of them, as I say, from a bit of a joke where I took a few photographs on Roker Park on the pitch just for the T-shirt. You just think, oh, it's daft laugh. This is a fad that'll go, but it's a name that's just stuck, and it's as I say even now. Again, people say it tongue in cheek, but it is saying when I played for the clubs, they all knew, So it was one of them. As I say, it was just a nickname that has stuck.
Yeah. And during that period at Sunderland, then we were involved in some good squads. Who would you say was there anyone in that team, in any of them teams that you thought you played against, and you thought like you would always thought they were going to make something of themselves in their career? Would you thought like go on and do great things in football?
Yeah, I mean, as I say, we came through. There was when I came through, there was Michael Gray, Craig Russell. We were all sort of the same era, and Mickey went on to do brilliant things. He's having a great career in the media now. But again, as I say, from when Peter Reid come in, the likes of Kevin Phillips, Niall Quinn, Nicky Sumby, Alan Jones. Again, the names that just went on to have great Premier League careers. You just knew they were like really, really great players. But again, as I say, when you're going through like Paul Bracewell's, Johnny Burns, like just people who you pick stuff up from being in there, young lad. But as I say, I think this squad that I probably's left in '99 with your Kev Phillips, your Quinnies, Nicky Summerbees, and Alex Reyes. They were probably the best squad that I was involved with at Sunderland. As I say, just as a team, and that team went on to finish 7th 2 years in the Premier League afterwards. So as I say, there was lucky enough to play with some very good players there.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's a few characters in that sort of area. Do you still keep in touch with any of them from that time?
Yeah, it was. It was a different era, as you say. As I say, we sort of sometimes get together now and say like, what would you rather have, the money or the times we had? And as I say, most of the lads just say that the times we had off the pitch and things we were sort of able to get up to and do that you probably you couldn't do now.
Yeah,
I know it is. It's a totally different era. As I say, you used to finish the game straight in the players' bar, and then, as I say, lads would socialise a hell of a lot more together then. Yeah, so some great times. Well, yeah, we've got an ex-players, son of ex-players, so there's a lot of lads involved with that. So we do try and get together every now and again and have golf days, and then at Christmas and maybe once in the summer, lads will try and get together and go out and have a drink. We don't drink as much as we used to. We'll get up to what we used to, but it's still good to catch up with the lads. Yeah.
Yeah, good times to look back on then. So you moved on to Sheffield United, I think you said there, 1999. How did that move come about, and when did you first hear of their interest in signing you?
It was one of them. I'd sort of left Sunderland and I went into Burnley on trial. They offered me something. I went to Ipswich and they offered me something, but just Ipswich just didn't seem right, even though it was a better club and a better offer. Adrian Heath, who was the reserve team manager at Sunderland, who I played a lot under the previous year, he got the Sheffield United job. And then I just said, look, Incy, just offer me something and I'll come. And I just want to get playing, and I needed a manager who knew us. And as I say, after just playing 3 games the previous year, I just wanted to get going again. So I went there under Adrian Heath in '99, and I think he lasted probably 2 months. So yeah, it went great for me, but not so well for him. And then Neil Warnock came in, so it was. I had the pleasure of playing under Neil, which was great. It was. There's a lot of preconceived ideas of what he would be like and how he would want to play football, but just really refreshing and brilliant. Great to play under. So again, I think I did 3 months under Neil and then left him in the January, but just great to actually play under him.
Yeah, you mentioned there you only had a short spell there, and you moved on to Huddersfield. How come you moved on? Like you didn't even have a full season there, did you? I don't think.
No, again, it went superb. Actually, I think I had 15 goals by Christmas, and Neil had come in, and even though I sort of really enjoyed playing under him, I got the feeling I wasn't really his sort of player as such.
Yeah.
So Huddersfield, not Forest, wanted me and were willing to pay money for me in the January because they'd only signed a year, so they were willing to pay. I think it was 300,000 for us in the January, and as I say, they both made good offers. I'd actually been offered a contract while Adrian Heath was there, and the one that sort of Neil came back with wasn't quite what the previous one was. And as I say, I was top scorer, and as I say, I just got the feeling he wasn't really bothered whether I stayed or not. You know, he made sort of all the right noises to the fans and the made that he wanted us to, but I got the feeling he didn't really want it when I probably would have been on the move in the summer. So I thought I might as well do it now. So I got out again. Probably a good time is when you're doing well. As I say, I was top scorer, so I thought good time, a lot of bargaining power for myself. As I say, I'd signed a year the previous summer, chance to get myself a long-term contract somewhere. So yeah, I think I signed maybe 3.5 years at Huddersfield.
Yeah, I think it was early 2000, around about that sort of time, and you had you said there about 3 years there. How do you view your time at Huddersfield?
Yeah, it was. I mean, I loved it. Don't get me wrong, but it was disappointing. Went in, I met Steve Bruce, and when I signed for them in the January, they were in the playoffs to be promoted into. I can't remember if it was the Premier League then.
Yeah.
So I went, started four games. I think I got 3 or 4 goals, and then got injured, so I missed a bit of a spell. And as I say, when I come back, they were sort of teetering a bit, and we sort of just touch and go whether we get in the playoffs. And we had to go to Fulham on the last day. We're probably as good a side as I'd seen in the Championship up there with the Sunderland team I'd played in, Louis Sahar and people like that. We had to go there on the last day and try and get a result down at Craven Cottage. I'd just come back from injury. We got battered 3-0. Never laid a glove on them, and that was us out the playoffs. So from going into a team where you're thinking, chance of going into the Premier League, that was sort of taken away from us. And then next year just didn't start well for Steve Bruce at all. I think he was gone in the October. So another manager just gone, and Lou McCarry came in, and again, not my sort of cup of tea as a manager. Wasn't too good for me. And towards the end of that season, I got injured. It turned out was worse than actually thought, and I missed the whole of the next season. So again, it just never really got started at Huddersfield. But by the time I come back from injury, we're in League One. So I'd gone there thinking, Premier League, we're in League One. So my last season at Huddersfield was in League One, and again, as I say, I was top scorer for them in League One, and But again, the whole club had changed. As I say, when I went there, there was a lot of money, a lot of investment, good players coming in. As I say, it all dried up. The club was in serious. The last year I was there, they were in administration, so we never really got paid from October onwards. And probably no surprise we got relegated. So as I say, I went team in the Championship, ended up leaving the team that was going to be in League Two. So yeah, as I say, a lot of fun memories. But yeah, just it never went the way it probably should have or could have.
Yeah, I was just looking there. I mean, like league-wise, I think you played about 80 games and you scored nearly 30 goals, so it wasn't like too bad really when you look at it sort of on that sort of that aspect. Like you say, it was just a bit hard for yourself, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, again, it was just another what I spent a time when I was just injured more than not. As I see, most of them games were probably my last season there in League One. I think, as I say, I think I scored 19 goals in the League One and probably just over 30 games. So the majority of stuff, and others feel the good stuff probably came in League One. But again, it sort of turned out wasn't a great year for them. But I personally on the pitch, as I say, I'd missed the whole previous season with knee injuries. So again, I was just happy to be back playing. So I was sort of enjoying, even though we weren't really getting paid. I was just happy to be back playing football, where the rest of the other lads, it was dark times for them. As you say, you can imagine not getting paid from sort of October. We'd have lads who lived in Liverpool who sort of didn't come into training because they'd be out of pocket. They have the petrol money because they weren't getting paid. So again, that all sort of culminated in us getting relegated. But yeah, as I say, I think that the stats probably mask a little bit of what went on there.
Yeah. Yeah, then you moved on to Northampton Town there. You spent around about another 3 years there, playing over 100 times for the club. How in Jerryville was that period for yourself?
Yeah, it was brilliant. Again, probably couldn't have went any better, sort of personally, in terms of settling somewhere. Again, I would say they probably saw the best of us in terms of how I played, getting most games out of us in 3 years. So yeah, no, it was great. Went in under a manager called Martin Wilkinson. He didn't last long. I think it always comes around October. Managers seem to get sacked in October when I turn up. But he got sacked, which turns out this time, as I say, Steve Bruce got sacked, and it didn't turn out well for us with the manager coming after him. But with this one, Martin Wilkinson got the sack, and Colin Calder would come in, and turned out to be probably as good a manager for me personally that I'd had. So yeah, he came in and just we had 3 great years. So it could have been better. We got beat in the playoffs my first 2 years there. Off Mansfield first year, Southend the second year. Then the third year, we managed to get automatic promotion. But again, it was one of them. We went up, and when I first went there, there was money, there was investment. The chairman was building for the future. By the time we actually got up, the chairman was pulling the plug. People's contracts were getting cut, so we got up, and unfortunately, I took the chance to sort of come back home to Darlington. But again, just three great years. Absolutely loved it there.
Yeah, and you did score a goal in the third round cup match, didn't you? And then you to play Man United, and that was obviously a big tie for the club at the time.
Yeah, it was. We drew with Rotherham at home, and then so we didn't know we were going to get Man United at that stage. But obviously, you had the replay, and in between the home tie and the replay, you obviously have the draw, and then it come out that whoever won Rotherham, Northampton was going to get Manchester United at home. So it just added something massive to that away game. And yeah, went there, and I took one of them free kicks that you put into the box, thinking somebody's going to get on the end of, and just missed everybody and went in at the far post. So yeah, it was a great night for the club. I mean, for me, I was, because I'd sort of played against them teams without sounding sort of like getting too big-headed or anything. I'd played against you sort of Uniteds and played in some big games, so it was nice. But after the final whistle went, it was like we'd won the cup just playing Man United. I was sort of a bit taken aback how much it actually meant.
Yeah.
to sort of the fans and the lads I was playing with. So that was great to do that. And again, it brought Man United to six fields and a very young Cristiano Ronaldo who proceeded to make a mug out of us.
Yeah, and you'd mentioned Colin Calderwood was your manager. You moved on to Forest, and then you moved back to the North East for Darlington. Was it Dave Hodgson you signed for there?
Yeah, Hodgie signed us. Yeah, he rang me. It was one of them. It was a tough decision to leave Northampton, obviously, because we've been promoted. But I always wanted to end up back in the northeast. And again, I got a phone call from Hodgie. Obviously, I was still debating whether to stay at Northampton. And Hodgie just gave us the opportunity to come to Darlington. I came up, had a look around the stadium, which again, playing in League Two, that stadium at the time it was unbelievable. So I thought, well, if I'm ever going to come back again, it was one of them where I knew my sort of time was nearly coming to an end. My knees were struggling, and as I say, I was not getting any younger. I thought if I'm going to do it, I might as well do it now. So as I say, it was a great opportunity to come back to Darlington and work with Hodgie, who, again, I think you know him. He's just an infectious guy, great guy, and just again, somebody I could really see myself playing for. So it was sort of went full circle, just sort of Sunderland around the country and back to the northeast.
Yeah, was that around about the time George Reynolds was manager there then, and they built the new stadium?
Well, the stadium was built. George, I think, had left maybe the year before, so I never got the pleasure of meeting George or being summoned into his office. Well, I'd say the lads used to tell stories about him, and yeah, he sounded an interesting character. But again, he built a great stadium. Whether it was the right thing to do or not, whether it was an ego thing, you know, it probably wasn't right for Darlington. But as I said, it was a beautiful stadium. So George had gone, and again, when Hodgie was there, and I think you're probably looking at October, and I think Hodgie got the sack. So I was only saying, yeah, probably three month maximum under Hodgie, and Dave Penny came in.
Yeah, and I know Hodgie went back a few times, didn't he? But I mean, after Darlington, I think you had a few spells at Blythe, Spartan, Kettering Town before you eventually retired. Did you feel like that was the right time then at that time?
Yeah, I mean, it was one of them. I'd retired from Darlington, and I'd played more or less the full first year, but towards the end, I was having trouble with my knee again, and I knew I had to get to the summer and have an operation, which again was probably only going to put me out 3 months. So I had it in, I think, May. So I was always hoping to be back for August, September, and then the operation just didn't work out the way we'd hoped. It was the previous operations I had before, and this time they went in and said, "Look, it's bad, and but you could be all right, you could get back." But again, I think I played 2 sub games, and I got somebody like tackled us, just normal tackle, like full blast, one I'd take any time before. I mean, they just swelled up massive, and again, looked like I was definitely going to be out for the rest of the season. Sort of January, sort of with the club, it suited me to be paid up. It suited them to get me off the wage bill. So yeah, I retired sort of professionally in that January. But again, sort of went. I didn't even know if it was the same summer. I got a few phone calls from local teams, but I couldn't go back professionally because I'd retired and took me sort of insurance money at the time. So I couldn't go back professionally if I wanted. And Blythe came on the phone. My mate got the manager's job at Kettering, Lee Harper. So he said, "Look, will you come down and play for us?" He said, "You haven't got to train, just turn up on a Saturday." So I went down and drove down 4 hours on a Saturday morning, got there. And funny enough, they were playing Darlington. I mean, I come on last 20 minutes and I did all right, but I just said, I'm not doing driving this far.
Yeah.
You know, just to come down, just to play the game. So yeah, I went to Blythe, played 2 games, two games there, which were both at home. 6:30 Saturday morning, we've gone to play. I think it was like Solihull or something, and I'm like, I ain't getting up at 6:30 to go and play Solihull. No, like I love playing football, but no disrespect, I'm not travelling the length and breadth of the country to turn up and play at Solihull. So I sort of gave that up and just went and played in the Northern League for 6 months for Sunderland last year. where you just, as I say, just turn up 20 minutes from my house to the ground. So I just went and played in the Northern League for 6 months. Yeah.